Governor of Maryland, Larry Hogan. Governor Hogan, I want to ask you, what do you think Kevin McCarthy would have done had he been Speaker last year? Do you share Congresswoman Liz Cheney's skepticism that he would have upheld the Constitution and done his duty?
Well, look, I can't speculate as to what Kevin McCarthy, did do or might have done. I can tell you that, one of the clips that you just showed, what he said on January 6th, I agree with. And, I haven't seen any evidence to the contrary over the past year that would make me change my position about what happened on January 6th. But I can't speak to what Kevin McCarthy might have done. It's kind of, I have no idea what he would do.
Former Vice President Dick Cheney was at the Capitol earlier today. He said this about the state of the Republican Party, quote, "I am deeply disappointed at the failure of many members of my party to recognize the grave nature of the January 6 attacks and the ongoing threat to our nation." Do you agree? And how do you change the direction of the Republican Party? How do you get Republican officials to stop lying about the election?
Well, I do agree with Vice President Cheney's remarks today. And, I've been speaking out about this myself repeatedly over the past year. It bothers me deeply. I think that people in my party who refuse to accept the realities of what happened 1 year ago today are making a big mistake, and putting fealty to Donald Trump ahead of their constitutional oath to defend the Constitution and represent their constituents. And I think it's not helpful for the Republican Party. It's not good for the country. And look, I remember vividly exactly what happened on January 6th as I was getting frantic calls from the leaders of Congress, and when I had to send in the Maryland State Police and the Maryland National Guard. Anybody who doesn't believe that happened on January 6th is just not telling the truth.
But we've heard today even from Republican officials, Governor DeSantis in Florida, belittling what happened that day. It seems like the fever is getting worse in your party, not better.
Well, I would actually agree with you. I thought that by now that perhaps the fever would break and that more people would start standing up and telling the truth. There are some leaders. There are a few more Republicans that are coming up and telling it like it is. But there's certainly, a shortage of courage in my party, and a lot of people that are just kind of whitewashing what happened. You can have different opinions on different issues, and I certainly don't question Kevin McCarthy's desire to be Speaker and Republicans taking over the House. But I don't think we ought to get there by trying to deal with conspiracy theories and lying about what happened in the last election, or trying to pretend like this wasn't a violent insurrection at the Capitol a year ago.
And what do people, Republican office holders, tell you, ones that aren't as bold as you or Liz Cheney or Adam Kinzinger or Jeff Duncan? What do they tell you about why they either go along with this or spew the lies?
Well, you hear a little bit of everything. There's some people, I think, are actually believe the stuff that they're saying, but there's an awful lot of people, I think, that are just afraid. They're afraid of being primaried. They're afraid of being attacked. I mean, look, people are actually being threatened for standing up and saying what they believe, and so it's. I think there's a little bit of people all over the spectrum, but there's certainly a lot of my friends and colleagues in my party who realize that that the election, although there may have been some improprieties here and there, that there was not enough to overturn the election, and that what happened on January 6th was an assault on our democracy.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't just staffers and members of Congress and journalists and observers. It was an assault on democracy, exactly as you put it. There are former Trump staffers, according to former Trump communications chief Stephanie Grisham, at least 15 of them who are going to meet next week to talk about a way to stop this fever, this disease in the Republican Party. What can they do? You've been out there speaking your mind, following your father's example. For people who might not know, your dad, rest in peace, was a Republican congressman from Maryland, and he voted to impeach Richard Nixon after Watergate, and very bravely so, and was alone. So you come from good stock. But for people who don't have the DNA, what do you tell them?
Yeah. Well, no, look, I'm not the only one speaking. You mentioned a few. There are other Republican leaders. I saw there was an op-ed by Karl Rove today that was pretty hard-hitting. My friend Chris Christie, who was very close to President Trump, is speaking out. We had a number of people resign their cabinet positions and leave the White House, and so I think people. Just speaking their mind and their conscience and telling what really happened. I think the more voices, the merrier. This is something really important to me. It's I've been focused on this for the entire time I've been in elective office, but especially over the past year. And it's I think we need to have more voices in the Republican Party that are willing to have the courage to stand up and speak out.